White people need to be able to talk about race, but one of the reasons why we don't is because it makes us really anxious to talk about it. The reason why I wrote this book was because it wasn't until I was in seminary in my early 20s that I realized that racism was something that wasn't in the past, but was still ongoing. And it surprised me because I'd been a faithful Christian attending church and learning about all sorts of ways to be holy and to live a life of Christian devotion. And yet there was this whole way that I and others like me were perpetuating harm and pain on whole groups of people simply because of the color of their skin. So it made me realize, why as Christians are we not talking more about this? I went on and did ministry at the U.S.-Mexico border in a hospital as a chaplain for a year. And again, everywhere I saw, even though the majority of the locals were Hispanics, all of the people in power were white people, and often it was the Hispanics and the Native Americans who got the least amount of voice and say in some of the major decisions happening around the hospital. I had other ministry experiences that again reminded me, why are we not talking about this? And how can we talk about this in a way that moves people forward? One of the problems that I saw in trying to talk about race was that often the emotions that come about are shame and guilt. When you start talking about race with white people, either they think you're trying to make them feel bad, or they honestly feel that there's nothing they should be ashamed of, that they're good people, that they have treated all the people of color that they know well. So why should they have to talk about it? In all of the workshops that I've been to, where people have been talking about racism, in the classes that I've taken, there's been a lot that I've read where people of color are saying they are tired of being the only ones to have to talk about this. Because every time they share a story about race or racism that they've experienced, it's like reopening that wound again. And to do that again and again and again takes a lot of energy. So it's important for white people who don't experience racism in that way to be the ones to really talk about this and to try to see, how can we change? How can we change society? How can we make this world more hospitable for everyone?